Turning now to Measure 114, Oregon's gun reform law that voters narrowly passed back in November. It has been mired in lawsuits ever since. The Attorney General's office has been fighting to get the law implemented, and their latest attempt has failed. The state Supreme Court is not going to get in the way of the Harney County judge who has frozen the law for now. Here's a little background. Measure 114 would require a permit to buy a gun and a criminal background check to be completed before a gun can be sold or transferred. It also restricts the sale, manufacture, and use of magazines holding more than 10 rounds of ammo. From the very beginning, gun advocates have argued the law is unconstitutional, so they filed a federal lawsuit, but in an early ruling, the federal judge actually sided with the state, and it appeared that 114 would take effect. But then a state lawsuit was filed in gun-friendly Eastern Oregon, Harney County to be exact, and a state judge there blocked 114's implementation over a series of rulings, saying that 114 may violate the state constitution, and that needs to be worked out in court before any part of 114 can take effect. Now, in this latest attempt, the Attorney General's office had asked the Oregon Supreme Court to throw out the Harney County judge ruling and allow 114 to take effect. And they argued that if the Supremes would not throw out the ruling, then they should at least make the judge explain why his ruling should stand. But today, the Supreme Court said no. They denied both requests, instead allowing the process to play out in court in Harney County while the entirety of 114 remains frozen. The Supremes wrote in part, "We recognize that the legal status of Measure 114 is of significant concern to many Oregonians. Of course, it is the role of the judicial branch of government to resolve disputes such as challenges to laws enacted by the legislative branch, which includes the people exercising their initiative power. That resolution is underway in the trial court. Our only determination today is that now is not an appropriate time to exercise our authority in mandamus in connection with the trial court's temporary and preliminary rulings." In other words, they are not getting sucked into this, at least not yet. They are staying out. The justices said their decision not to step in at this point has no bearing, by the way, on the respective positions or the merits of the case, nor does it prevent future challenges. Here's Lewis and Clark law professor Tung Yin.
The fact that the Oregon Supreme Court is not taking up the request right now does not mean necessarily that they think that Measure 114 is correctly blocked.
The justices went on to write, "At this juncture, and given our understanding that the trial court is proceeding as expeditiously as possible to resolve the issues that the parties have represented, we have determined that we should decline to exercise our mandamus discretion at this time." When they say proceeding as expeditiously as possible, well, that could mean a lot of different things. The court system doesn't really move at what you might call fast. So 114 basically is going to be on hold for an undetermined amount of time until the Harney County judge can rule on the constitutionality of each part of that measure. Are we talking weeks, months, maybe years? Possibly. We'll see. Needless to say, the Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum, is disappointed by the ruling, writing on Twitter, "We intend to continue to defend the law zealously in the Harney County Court. My office takes the position the law passed by Oregonians last November is totally proper and legal under the U.S. and Oregon constitutions." So, once again, we find ourselves holding a Measure 115 holding pattern. Now that the state Supreme Court declined to step in, the future of the measure is at the mercy of the Harney County judge and when he decides to schedule hearings for each part of the measure. So you ask, okay, when's the next hearing? We have no idea. No such schedule is out that we're aware of, but we will be watching and we'll keep you posted. What you need to know right now is that nothing about gun laws in Oregon have changed since Election Day because Measure 114 has been tied up in court and not allowed to begin.